Good afternoon. We're Cougar Hospitality, representing the University of Houston, and today we'll be presenting our hotel market study on Austin, Texas. I'd like to start off by introducing ourselves.
Well, hi, my name is Dylan Emerson. I'm a senior and I specialize in cruise ships. One of the things I really love about Austin is its food, as you can get food from across the world and get to expand your taste buds.
Hi, my name is Quinn Lee. I'm currently a senior at the Hilton College. My specialization is in finance and accounting. The one thing that I love about Austin is that it has a lot of natural sceneries and I can go hiking.
Hey, my name is Diego Cardenas. I'm a senior focusing on real estate and asset management. What I love about Austin is the Formula One weekend, hanging out with my buddies on 6th Street.
Hi everyone, my name is Hadir Mori. I'm a senior specializing in data analytics and tourism, and my absolute favorite thing about Austin is the music scene and the amazing culture. To start, we are going to get into the general market makeup of Austin, Texas. So why did we choose Austin? The technology industry is booming and it is continuing to grow as more tech companies open up. There's beautiful scenery, amazing outdoor adventures, hike and bike trails. There's art and culture everywhere, museums, street art, amazing food. There's many festivals, conventions, and events in Austin. There's a very popular catchphrase known as Keep Austin Weird, which actually originated in 2000 and has become a way to support local businesses in Austin and show the strong sense of community there. So we want to highlight 3 top attractions in Austin. Austin is home to the Texas State Capitol, which brings in many government agencies as well as voices for advocacy. There's also Lady Bird Lake, which is a huge natural attraction with hikes, trails, and various outdoor water activities like kayaking. It is the live music capital of the world, home to many huge artists like Willie Nelson. We want to highlight a few of the biggest events that happen in Austin throughout the year. To start in March, there is the South by Southwest, which is best known for its conferences and festivals that celebrate technology, film, music, and culture. This past year, it brought in 275,000 attendees. Now, the rodeo also happens in March as well, and this brought in over 450,000 attendees. Now we're going to look at October, one of the biggest months for Austin. So there's Austin City Limits, which is a massive music festival that brought in more than 450,000 attendees. And we also had the Formula One Grand Prix, which was the highest attended in the nation last year, with over 440,000 attendees that came. And lastly, in December, we have the Austin Trail of Lights, which has over 2 million lights and holiday activities. And last year, there were over 400,000 attendees. So like we said, the technology industry is booming in Austin. It is currently ranked #1 on the CompTIA's Tech Town Index. Austin's tech industries make up 16.7% of all jobs compared to 9.2% nationally. And some companies that have come in are Apple, Dell, Facebook, IBM, and Tesla. So besides all of the big businesses, another reason we believe Austin has a strong hotel market is because of the unique properties that are in the city. To start, we want to talk about the Driscoll. The Driscoll is the oldest hotel in Austin, and it opened in 1886. What hotel do you know that opened in 1886 is still in operation today and thriving? One of the main selling points is actually its supposed haunted nature. So beware if you ever make the visit. We are also going to talk about the Loren. The Loren was made from an abandoned parking garage, and it oversees the Bat Bridge, which is another big Austin attraction. The Bat Bridge houses 1.5 million bats. Fun fact, it actually takes the bats 10 minutes to vacate the bridge for their nightly bug hunt. Lastly, we're going to talk about Hotel Van Zandt. It was made in honor of singer-songwriter Townes Van Zandt, and it has a very musical and creative atmosphere. So the Driscoll is a luxury hotel. The Loren and Hotel Van Zandt are independent hotels, which make up a great makeup of the type of hotels in Austin's market. So we want to bring attention towards a few basic demographics in Austin. So there are currently over 960,000 people living in Austin, and the median age is 34.4, which is relatively young. And one of the most important things that we want to talk about is the very low unemployment rate for such a big city, which is 3.3%. And there are currently over 600,000 people in the labor force right now, and this number is continuously increasing.
Perfect. So now let's actually learn a little bit more about Austin by the numbers. So Austin's GDP throughout the years from 2001 to 2021 has grown, and the difference between that is over $141 billion. Now, each year is adjusted for inflation based off of that year. So let's actually go into it a little more, and we can see that Austin's made up of 6 submarkets, 421 properties, 48,000 plus rooms, the largest being Austin CBD. Now, part of the reason is because that's where a lot of the businesses happens, conferences, you have government travel, all that different types. Now, just so you can see it visually, we can actually see that Austin CBD is in the middle with blue, being the smallest geographically comparatively. Now, here's a video made by XL 3D modeling, and we can actually see that the blue being Austin CBD, showing just the room number of counts comparatively to the other submarkets. Now let's go into some current statistics. So as we can see, of course, we know the hotels, 421 rooms, 48,000 plus, but there's some things that we really want to highlight with this. It's actually room revenue with 13.4%, RevPAR with 9.6%. And actually, if you look at all these percent changes, they're all going upward, showing a great trend in that sense. Now, let's actually get into the KPIs with occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR. If we completely take out pandemic, we can see in RevPAR alone, pre-pandemic to current numbers is 14% increase. ADR, 18%. This shows that the pandemic didn't impact the economy as far as they did. Now, here's as we can see here with room supply, we can see it's a constant growth pre-pandemic with demand and revenue are currently retreated back to pre-pandemic numbers, but we can see alone just in 2021, RevPAR has increased 98.6%. Now, here's some things that we do want to highlight from the past year. One of the two things we want to talk about is in October, which is, of course, ACL Music Festival. So there's your spike in there. But in March, it's a really interesting thing. We had a tornado and large hailstorms, and it actually vacated some people from their houses into hotels. But it also brought forth government. It brought back disaster relief and aid to be able to assist that rebuild. Now, just going over some basic percent changes, we can see all across the board has had a positive increase from post-pandemic numbers. We can see that RevPAR alone is 82.6% increase. That is a magnificent increase. Now, main takeaways, because this is what really matters. ADR and RevPAR soaring upwards since 2021, outrunning pre-pandemic numbers. Now, here's some great reasons for that. It could be due to staycations, rebooked conferences, returning events, festivals, natural disasters, government. All these have effect on that.
Now that you understand the current statistics, we're going to dive into our trended data to uncover some interesting patterns in the Austin market's history. Our graph here tracks supply and demand from January 2000 to July 2023. Both trend lines follow a similar pattern and trajectory. Starting at $5 million in rooms sold, we're now at an impressive 12 million, signaling tremendous upward potential. Let's take a closer look at our numbers. Between the year 2000 to 2010, we had a $1 million increase. Looking at the center of the graph, starting in 2010, we notice a steep rise leading up to 2020, putting us up to $11 million. A $5 million increase within 10 years. They were record-breaking numbers. And despite a pandemic-induced dip to 6 million in demand, the market rebounded swiftly, making an incredible recovery to our current demand of 12 million in rooms sold. What we did in 10 years recovered and excelled in under 2 years. To complement our previous slide, let's examine the percent change shifts in supply and our average demand. There was a boom in supply percent change around the dot-com bubble, leading to an increase in demand. Following the economic recession, we noticed a rise in supply remarkably without adverse effects on demand. In fact, it was shortly after this that we see the same steep rise in our demand and supply percent change up until the pandemic. Post-COVID, we've witnessed a substantial surge in demand accompanied by an increase in supply percent change. The market has demonstrated commendable resilience and recovery in the face of global events. And to support this claim, we'll examine our supply and revenue data. Again, we notice similar trend lines highlighting the upticks following the dot-com bubble and the significant increase after the recession, which led to our record-breaking numbers. Since March 2003, our supply has seen a substantial 96% increase, while revenue has increased a whopping 425%. As the city's expansion continues, we can reasonably expect to see substantial growth in the market. Now, I love looking at our ADR and occupancy rates. Let's build on our previous slides. We have observed elevated numbers during the dot-com bubble and after the 2008 recession. Both trend lines have shown remarkable consistency over the years, with a dip during the pandemic. What's particularly intriguing is the current state of our ADR. It has now surpassed our occupancy, indicating that we are generating higher revenue than before. This is simply due to the city of Austin and what the market has to offer. The demand, both for business and leisure, has led people to willingly pay higher rates. And revenue managers understand this, so they've increased the prices. This translates to a higher revenue for hotels and an overall increase in the market's value. So what did we learn from our trended data? Well, the dot-com bubble was a positive global event that grew our market, but even during economic and global setbacks, the Austin market has responded stronger than before with upward momentum. Since the early 2000s, there has been exponential growth in supply, demand, ADR, occupancy, and revenue. Lastly, we've highlighted the undeniable strength of Austin's market, emphasizing the value that it holds. So keep this information in mind as Quinn presents a detailed market breakdown in the next slide to offer a deeper perspective of the Austin market.
Okay, let's get into some details. Now we are going to the market breakdown by scale. For this section, we are using the market segment data 12-month moving average. Let's look at the demand actual versus change. We notice that higher scale hotels are under growth and actual demand is high for upper upscale, and upper mid-scale. In terms of percent change, higher scales rank higher than the lower scales such as mid-scale and economy. An interesting change here is the uptick in leisure travel, where business travelers extend their stays to incorporate leisure activities. Austin's destination as the live music capital of the world, its hill country location, its variety of shopping, dining, entertainment districts should allow local hoteliers to capitalize on this growth. Moreover, higher scale hotels provide ample meeting space and amenities, and most of them are in event-packed locations. These amenities also contribute to Austin's ability to capture the significant amount of meeting and group demand, which is anchored by state and federal government entity, as well as UT Austin. Looking at occupancy and ADR percent change in July 2023, we noticed that ADR growth has reflected a less price-sensitive travelers as demand was driven to the higher scales. And ADR increased for all except the economy, as the economy scale is known for its limited service and affordability, plus its occupancy decreased by 2.7%. Mid-scale also need to watch their pricing and marketing strategies. They can consider promoting local tourism and events, offering packages and promotions, and attracting more direct booking. In general, travelers lean towards higher scales as they are less price sensitive, more demand in full service. As one of the fastest growing cities in the country with many expansion projects, employment growth, and a young population, Austin adopted a higher quality of life. And in here, for ADR, we also baked in the inflation rate as a 3.2%. For RevPAR actual versus change, we see that luxury and independent chains stood out as these chains have full service and have more to offer, and thus they drive more revenue. What's interesting here is that the percent change follow the same pattern, again proving that the Austin market attracts less price-sensitive travelers. Here we also take into account the inflation rate at the 3.2%. Let's look at the big picture here. So RevPAR percent change from 2018 to 2023, we see that the luxury was most outstanding, followed by the upper upscale and independents. In general, Austin has recovered quickly post the pandemic and was even blooming with higher RevPAR increases compared to the pre-pandemic period. And we want to point it out here that the luxury place second from the bottom before COVID hit. However, it stood out for its recovery from 2021 to 2022, rising to be the top scale of all. This can be explained by the fact that there are many conventions have been rebooked and there are more leisure travelers. Upper upscale and independents also has significant growth in RevPAR. Now that was the market breakdown by scale. Let's get into market breakdown by submarkets. So here we want to bring back the submarket map so you can have an idea of where each submarket locates and what is the size of each. Looking at demand and supply percent change in July 2023, we see that Austin CBD, Round Rock, and South Austin increased more than the other submarkets. And Austin in general, as a cultural, economic, and political powerhouse, its lodging demand continues to grow in all submarkets, especially the Austin CBD, Round Rock, and Airport. These locations are home to many tech headquarters. They have high traffic and many events. And especially for South Austin Airport, there's a project going on for the South Terminal at Austin Bergstrom International Airport. So this airport has a record-breaking passenger volumes. The airport regularly handles 50,000 to 70,000 passengers a day, more than the number of daily visitors to Disneyland. The amount tells us that there's a combination between the national and international travelers, and the moves paved the way for the terminal demolition and construction of a new concourse capable of accommodating about 10 to 40 gates starting in 2025. On the other hand, we have the Capital Express project proposed to add non-toll high occupancy vehicle managed lanes in each direction along I-35. The construction has started for I-35 North and South. However, the construction for the Central will start in mid-2024. For this reason, the growth is not as significant as other submarkets. However, there was still growth in there. For occupancy and ADR percent change, we noticed that Austin CBD took the lead, as it is the downtown of Austin, has high demand because there are a lot of events and conferences going on. There's also growing opportunity for Round Rock. As you can see, the occupancy raised by 3.7%. However, ADR rose by 1.5%. So we have a potential to raise the price there. There are some other submarkets that experience negative occupancy percent change while having a positive ADR percent change. Some possible reasons for this is that first, Austin has a low demand in July. It's quite of an off season for Austin. And secondly, because ADR was risen, some travelers were discouraged to stay in those areas. Looking at the RevPAR actual versus change, we noticed that Austin CBD and South Austin has the highest RevPAR. And for Northwest, we see that the ADR percent change was driven by RevPAR percent change. However, this is not very optimistic as the occupancy decrease as we saw at the previous slide. Revenue management for this area should watch the rate, diversify revenue resources, provide back packages and bundles, or even advertise the area more. Now let's look at the big picture for Austin CBD versus all other submarket percent change. Austin CBD outperformed other submarkets although its supply is made up only 18%. However, we want to make a point here that in the Austin CBD, there will be a project going on. It's the Austin Convention Center, and it will be undergoing a 4 years construction in this expansion project. There will be some short-term losses from construction and the lack of conventions. However, we believe that Austin have more to offer than that, and it will fill in the spot. And by 2029, it will be worth it with a lot of improvement in leisure travelers and South by Southwest experience. So what do we learn from the market breakdown? We have a few takeaways. From the KPI performance point of view, we see that upper upscale was the strongest scale of all. Luxury chains have many positive changes in the KPIs, which show that it has a lot of growth potentials. Independent chains was the third strongest performer, showing that it keeps up with the logo of Austin, which is Keep Austin Weird. Austin CBD made up most of Austin wholesale KPIs, so this is a very strong submarket of all. On the other hand, we forecast that there will be higher scales expansion, and it will be faster than the lower scale as the travelers are less price sensitive. And also we forecast that there will be significant improvements in 2029 as the 3 expansion projects finish.
We are now going to get into the comparable markets. We got this data from the STR Data Global Market 12 moving month average. So in state, we chose 4 different cities. In state, we chose San Antonio, Texas, because of the size and diversity being very similar. Out of state, we chose Washington, D.C. because it is our nation's capital, and Austin is a capital city. So they are very similar in terms of business travel related to government work. And then we chose Boston, Massachusetts, because it is a very big convention city and another hub of business travel. And finally, we chose Nashville, Tennessee, because not only is the music scene and culture super similar to Austin, but they also have very similar demand. And something to note is that Austin is 27th in the US market for room counts. And we also just wanted to take a moment to thank the Austin Convention and Visitors Bureau, who helped us decide on the most accurate comparable markets. So we are going to start by looking at the supply and demand for the actual running 12 months till July 2023. So as we can see, all comparable markets except DC have had similar supply and demand for the last running 12 months. Now looking at the percent change, Austin and San Antonio show a proportional growth between supply and demand, whereas Nashville, Boston, and DC have had a significant increase in demand. Now looking at the occupancy and ADR. So occupancy rates were 60 to 70% for all markets. And it's important to note that Austin had the highest ADR in the Texas market when being compared to San Antonio. And we're going to be looking at the RevPAR, the actual and percent change. In terms of percent change in actual numbers, Austin is in the median for all comparable markets. Now looking at the occupancy and ADR for percent changes. Austin and San Antonio had a drastic ADR percent change compared to Nashville, DC, and Boston's occupancy versus ADR percent change. So our key takeaways. So Austin has shown a very strong performance in the hotel market and shows lots of room for growth. Supplies have been increasing as Austin is a huge city with low room counts. Actual statistics were high compared to all the other markets. Austin's hotels aim at out-of-state travelers, groups, conventions, and corporates, and percent changes were low for both demand and occupancy.
Let's take a look at the type of businesses for Austin. For this section, we're using the trend report data from STR. For occupancy actual by day of week, we noticed that the occupancy is higher on Friday, Saturday, and for Wednesday, it's higher in 2023. This proved that mainly transient travelers come to the Austin hotel market. However, there was growth in the business travelers from 2021 to 2023. For ADR actual by day of week, we see that the Friday and Saturday maintain the highest ADR, and room rates for transient is not discounted like group. So that's explain the fact why it's higher on the weekends. For group transient occupancy, we see that transient travelers dominate Austin hotel market and continue to grow. We can see that the transient occupancy is double and 2 times higher than the group occupancy. The increase in leisure travelers also contributed to the transient occupancy, especially the room out the block. And here, in terms of seasonality, we see that January and July are some slow months for both transient and group, as not many events happen during those times. And on the other hand, we see that March, April, and October are some peak months for Austin. So in March and April, we have the South by Southwest Rodeo and CMT Awards. And in October, we have the Formula One UT Games and some end of the year conferences. Moving on to the group transient ADR, we noticed that group ADR is slightly higher due to potential packages that was lumped into the rate. For example, Wi-Fi, breakfast, etc. The only time that we see group ADR is slightly lower than the transient ADR is from 2020 to 2021, where when pandemic happened. This can be explained by the fact that a lot of conventions and conferences were canceled. And in terms of seasonality here again, we see April and October are some peak seasons having higher ADR than other months. Regardless of the lower ADR in general, transient travelers still bring in more revenue as they utilize more amenities and pay for them individually without group discounts. And we also noticed an ADR percent change. It's increased by 20% from 2021 to 2022. And even if we baked in the inflation rate of 8.5%, it is still a significant growth for ADR. So what do we learn from type of business? In terms of characteristics, the weekends made up the majority, which proved that Austin have more transient travelers compared to the group travelers. Secondly, weekday occupancy show an upward trend, which proved that the business travelers are secure and which provide a solid growth for Austin hotel market. And besides that, in terms of seasonality, we see that January and July are some slow months for Austin hotel market. However, April and October are peak months with many events and conferences.
Perfect. So now that we learned about what Austin is and where it's currently at, let's talk about that future now with the pipeline. So these upcoming 2 videos are actually an interactive dashboard through Tableau. And now let's look overall. We can see the chains and where they are and the number of rooms as a whole in general. But there's 2 that I really want to focus on, and it's going to be upper mid-scale and luxury. Now, when comparatively all across it, we can kind of just see which ones have higher peaks, where they lie as a whole. Now, when looking at a few things, we can see that luxury alone has been pretty stagnant. It's actually even dropped incredibly, while upper mid-scale, it's slowly crawled at a constant rate even through the pandemic. Even looking at the lowest amount of rooms for the luxury chain. Now, the reason why we kind of chose these is because of the differences of upper mid-scale being the most and luxury being the lowest amounts. Now, That also being said, let's look into the number of hotels as a whole. Again, we can look at the whole scale and to see where they all lie comparatively, but the ones that we really want to focus on is luxury chain and upper mid-scale. As we can kind of see, luxury's been really stagnant, while upper mid-scale has been slow moving, but still progressing comparatively throughout the last few years, even with the pandemic. Now, let's actually go into that. So we can see that overall, upper mid-scale has the most in the pipeline as a whole, but also in the planning phase. Now, we do know that planning phase does not equal room amounts. However, though, it does show interest in those specific chain, while luxury being the lowest amount overall. Now, if we look at that comparatively in the existing, we can see that upper mid-scale has the most amount of rooms, while luxury is having the lowest. Now, if we break that down by submarket, we can see that Austin CBD is again having the most overall, while San Marcos and surrounding area has the least, while Austin US 290 and I-35 very close behind. And again, looking at existing, Austin CBD has the most, while the San Marcos and Austin surrounding area have the lowest currently in existing. Now, just to kind of bring that out for brand perspective, we can see overall, independents have the most room counts, while even breaking down, a Super 8 being the lowest has 60. Now, here's those main takeaways. For pipeline existing, Austin CBD and the upper mid-scale chain took the lead in pipeline and with the planning phase in that. But luxury chain has the lowest amount in existing and the pipeline, with Austin San Marcos surrounding and the UF 290 and I-35 having the lowest amount in the pipeline overall for those submarkets. Now, for growth, we can see that luxury has just been really stagnant for both room and hotel amounts, while upper mid-scale has overall had the largest amount and has been the most progressive with that staying with those pandemic numbers.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the data, we'd like to simplify the numbers by paving the way for a strategic move and uncover the potential of Austin. Let's revisit the market. Picture this: attractions like Formula One and ACL drawing crowds from far and wide, coupled with UT Sports boasting one of the country's largest single campus enrollments, creating a massive fan base. Now, add the government into the mix. The capital hosts over 50 agencies, a significant market influencer, and the real powerhouse, private companies, particularly in the tech center, steering the ship with nearly 200,000 employees in the metro area, making it a thriving hub. Highlighting that, our demand from private companies sourced by the Chamber of Commerce, 200 companies announced expansions and 64 new companies relocated to the region, creating over 14,000 new jobs. Our business travel will consistently be there. Looking at our leisure travel, we've talked about the event in Austin. Now we're going to take a look at our event attendance. I'd like to highlight 3 events: ACL, the Formula One US Grand Prix, and South by Southwest Conference. As the live music capital of the world, ACL brings people in from all over the country. In 2022, they brought in 450,000 people. The event broke the daily record for departures at the Austin Bergstrom International Airport. Formula One, which is a week after ACL, brought in 441,000 guests. In fact, they shattered the daily record for departures set by ACL the week prior by 22%. Finally, we have the South by Southwest Conference and Festivals. This event focuses on several key industries like tech, music, film, and more. Their attendance in 2022 was close to 280,000 guests. As a city with significant population influx from California, many wealthy tech professionals attend this event and tend to stay at the luxury hotels. Getting into more numbers in the hotel market, the sale prices are skyrocketing. The average price per room in completed transaction has hit over $182,000. That's a solid 7% jump from June 2022 to July 2023. Austin isn't just keeping up. It's one of the elite 15 major US hotel markets, boasting an ADR above 172. When it comes to average cap rates, Austin is standing tall with Boston and Washington, D.C. as the only locations sporting a cap rate exceeding 9%. That means higher returns. The combination of these soaring returns and nationally elevated daily rates makes finalizing deals smoother than ever. Deal flow has dropped over more than 50%, so we're in a market where stakes are high, returns are great, but competition is heating up. And as Quinn mentioned, the convention center will be undergoing construction starting 2025, showcasing the growth of the city. We also have the Capital Express project and the expansion of the South Terminal at Austin Bergstrom International Airport as well. This will be a huge driving factor for the city in the future. Now, I'd like to take a look at the Austin CBD market. While most rooms are downtown, there still continues to be more development added. And although there's not a lot of space, there's great opportunity for luxury development. And as we saw on slide 34, demand is outpacing supply in CBD. Pipeline, not a lot of development for luxury, but ADR growth is the highest and in the CBD market, and it has the highest demand percent change. We can also consider adding meeting and convention spaces to bring in that demand from the convention center closing. And we can expect to continue bringing in more revenue with that space. People are willing to pay more rates with all the demand of business and leisure. When South by Southwest and Formula One is happening, people are paying rates for luxury that aren't luxury in other markets. So there is a need for luxury hotels. So to wrap things up, occupancy remains very high as new supply is added, resulting in a market for new hotel development that is stronger than ever. So why should you invest in Austin? Well, Austin is
Growing.
Austin is
Weird.
and Austin is.
The future.
Thank you very much to the data providers and outside aid. For Cougar Hospitality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'd like to open up the floor.
All right, very good. Students from the University of Houston, do our judges have
Yes.
any
Go Cougs.
questions or comments?
I'm sorry, are you asking on our end?
No, do our judges have any questions or comments for the students, for the team?
Could you stop sharing screen so we could see each other? Sorry, it's easier for us to give comments because we don't want to step on each other's toes.
There we go.
Would you like to go first, Mandy or Andrea?
Oh, I can go first. Wonderful, excellent presentations. The presentation, all the slides, really with all the data, and I love how you use the Tableau informations as well. That is new so far that I've seen on all these presentations. So it's great, and you really giving like making us feel like that, like you really passionate about this city. Like I can tell that like from the beginning that when you're starting on the welcome that show like liking what you like the most at the Austin and throughout the whole presentation. So great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I loved your COVID icon. Very cute little mask. I love it. I think it showed like, you know what I mean? Because again, I always say this once is the time I say this is that we're studying people, right? I study people more directly through market research, but we're tracking people. We're tracking what people do, and it is people. And so it should be, it's okay to do that, right? Like it's a little bit lighthearted, but it was such a great presentation of the data. I loved your event calendar in the beginning session. I thought that was really cool with the timeline and stuff. You clearly did your work and you really understood Austin as a destination. When you're talking about the statistics and you're giving reasons like why you thought those reasons were, you said them, you committed to them on the slide. I thought that was super strong. I really liked your use again of the secondary information while you're using your narrative. You really did try not to be like just like great knowledge of the STR numbers too, by the way, but you were actually trying to put them in a larger perspective for the market that was matching your conclusion and your close. Your close, you had an incredibly strong last 4 or 5 minutes. That was just an incredibly strong close. Your presentation, all 4 of you are exceptional presenters. Like you are very, very good. I love the color coordination. I love that you brought together as a team. You clearly were equals on this team. I could just tell that you really worked well together, and I love being able to see that. So, I mean, like I said, I don't have really much bad things to say about this at all. I thought that you did an exceptional job, and I think that you really well represented the section. And I think that you should be congratulated, and I think your professors as well. And I think that all 4 of you have a really bright future ahead of you in our industry.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Nothing really more to say after that. I think I agree with all of those comments. So thank you for that. Great job overall. You guys worked well as a team. I can see that everyone participated in doing the work. You guys really showed that you know the data, you know the information that you were presenting on. And to be honest, you made your city proud. I really felt like I wanted to visit after this presentation. So congratulations to all of you and to your professors, of course.
Thank you
Thank you so much.